Bob Thompson. I am 50 years old and I'm a real estate agent and live in Hampton Roads, Virginia. Nice.
So, where does your story begin then?
Oh God. Honestly, my story begins 3 weeks before getting married. So, or 3 weeks after marriage, actually. My my now ex-wife, she had two younger half brothers, same mom, different dad. They had been mentally and physically abused by their father and were living in Texas with them. Their mother did not want them. She lived in
Hmm.
Virginia Beach, didn't want them. So I talked to a lawyer and we discovered that we could not get custody until we got married. So we had already had a scheduled date and all of that for the marriage. We
Yeah.
got married. 3 weeks later, we got custody of Stephen. Um, Stephen lived with us. His brother Keith came at the end of the summer. We raised them through high school, all of that good stuff. Um, I was always way closer to Stephen than I was Keith. Keith moved away very quickly and just quite honestly kind of went down his own route and followed his mother off to Montana. Um,
Oof.
to this day, the boys don't know that their mother didn't want them. I've never told them. There's never been any reason to tell them.
Oh
And
no.
I don't talk to Stephen anyway, so it's kind of a mute point. When he came into town, he got married. He served in the Marine Corps. He did 3 tours. So he's got a combination of obviously PTSD from being Marine infantry,
Sure.
and his family unit was a complete nightmare growing up. Um, I'm very close to my father. I always tried to show Stephen how a father and son should interact with each other. Lots of love, lots of caring, lots of, helping out with whatever dad needs. My father's 80 years of age, and we are very close. I was also very close to my mother, but she passed away in 2009. So, Stephen gets married, has two children, gets divorced. Here's where it gets interesting. He's living in Chesapeake near us. We're watching the children all the time. These are my pride and joy. That's what I call them.
Yeah.
Um, doing all of the grandfather stuff that you normally would do. The ex wife has met another guy and is pregnant and wants to move to Mississippi because he's in the Navy. So she wants to leave the state with the boys. Luke and Nick are their names, and they're probably 3 and 5 at this point. So we go to fight the case. I spent 30 grand of my own money to keep them in the state of Virginia. We won the case. That she could not leave the state with them. We did Easter Sunday, which actually showed up in my memories here, I think like a week ago or something, if I
Yeah, I
remember
was gonna say
correctly.
that's coming. That's coming up
Yeah,
here. Somebody's
there was
gonna
some
be
sort of
alerted, right?
memories from that time period coming up.
Yeah.
Um, and about a week after Easter, Stephen comes up to the local bar that we go to on Thursday nights where we meet our friends. So we go out for a couple hours, have a couple of drinks. Again, this is 2014.
Mm.
Yeah, 2014. And he pulls me aside and tells me that he is voluntarily giving up the children and he's moving to California to live with his girlfriend.
Oof.
Yeah. So I reacted quite calmly over the whole thing. I mean, obviously, I was in shock.
Yeah.
And I told him to his face, I said, if you do this, I said, I will never talk to you again. So we left the bar. I went back to my house. Stephen had all of his stuff from growing up in the upstairs bedroom because basically he would stay with us. So he, like any other child, he's got his childhood
Sure. Yeah.
stuff, you know, his Marine Corps stuff, all of that. I packed all of it up by myself, put it in the car, and took it over to his house and dropped it off on his front porch. Handed him the key. I basically asked for my key, and that was it.
Because I'm sorry, so he had made the decision to do that. Is that why you packed it up?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay.
It was
I
my
wasn't sure if
way of
like,
saying, we're done. If you do this, I don't
yeah,
want any of your stuff in my house. I don't want you to come get it later. You're making, as far as I'm concerned, the biggest mistake you can possibly
yeah,
make. It's the worst thing you can do to these children.
yeah,
And remember, I have no relationship with the ex-wife. So we're done. We're cut off. We
yeah,
lose the kids like that.
yeah,
And we were seeing them 3 or 4 times a week, babysitting, doing all of the grandfather activities that we would do, to the
yeah,
fair, the museums, you name it, all of it.
yeah,
I was actually, when Nick was born, he was in Bethesda, Maryland, in the NICU unit, and I was signed in as the grandfather. I was the grandfather for all intents and purposes. That
yeah,
was my job. From there, so he left. We got cut off from the children, no contact at all. Because remember, we had just won that case,
yeah.
$30,000, and that was the discounted price because the lawyer
Gosh,
was a friend of mine. Literally, that was a discount. Um, and it destroyed, you know, the marriage from there. Like Christine and I, we were doing okay. When you're in a situation that you're unhappy, but you're about 80% good, and you don't want to rock the boat, and you're doing things the way they need to be done. I was willing to sacrifice for the children because I felt like it was
yeah,
important. Because I knew if I had asked for a divorce, it would just blow up all the worlds, and I wasn't going to do
yeah,
that.
yeah,
She started drinking even more and continued to go downhill. I just got very, very angry. Like I was
yeah,
mad, betrayed.
yeah. I was gonna ask, like, when does it start? How much can you hold in? Like I don't know. I mean, I have a 2-year-old and an 8-month-old currently, and just as soon as you mentioned like the kids were involved, I was like, oh man, like when does the bottle just like the top just like pop? Yeah,
And we never had kids of our own. We got custody of the
yeah,
boys when they were 14,
yeah,
raised them, and then we had that conversation in my early 30s, and I felt like I had done my part and I didn't want to start over. So I got
yeah.
fixed the whole 9 yards, got it done. Um, and then we got to do the other half of it, which is the grandchildren part of it.
Grandkids, yeah,
And again, I treated the boys like they were my very own because in my mind, they were my very own. They were my pride and joy. If you go on my Facebook and pull old memories, you'll see, hey, I'm out with the pride and
ah,
joy. That's what I call them.
yeah,
So for Steven to do what he did, it was a slow, it's a combination of shock and awe. I mean, it really is. It's
yeah,
just, I posted on Facebook like 2 days later and, lit him up because I didn't know what else to do. Then I took it down. Slowly got madder and madder and just
yeah,
hurt.
yeah,
Just, I mean, they were snatched. It was done, you know.
yeah,
Um, I I always knew Steven had problems, and we always tried to work on them. And you kind of hope nurture can take over nature. And unfortunately, the first 14 years of his life and the military just, you know, not that there's an excuse for what he did because there's not. Those are your kids, you know.
yeah,
I'm very passionate about that. I have a serious problem with deadbeat fathers and mothers. That I don't get it. I don't understand it, and I
yeah,
never will. So it got to the point where I literally have you ever seen it in Idiocracy when they beat up the fax machine?
yeah.
I took the printer out of the house and in front of God and everybody in the front yard. Don't know why I chose the front yard. Maybe because there was a sidewalk out there. I beat the living hell out of this printer because
I
it
know,
wasn't
printer.
working. I mean, I was body slamming the damn thing. It was like WWE, and I am fussing and cussing and just, if I could have ripped it
you
in pieces,
you would
I would
have.
have. And I
Poor
got
Hewlett
as
Packard
close as
didn't
I
know what was
could.
going on.
I mean, I literally was body slamming this stupid thing over and over again. And that's when it clicked. It was like, I got a problem because
Yeah.
I'm just, you know,
This isn't who I am.
no,
This isn't what I do. Yeah.
so mad. So I started to secretly seek a therapist because Christine and I were having problems and I just didn't want to deal with it. So I wanted to go do this on my own. And again, I'm a dude and at this point I'm 50. So, that's kind of how
It's
we
hard.
handle things,
Yeah.
Um, she diagnosed me with low level trauma, basically because the kids were snatched away. And our whole lives were centered around these
Yeah.
kids. I mean, I would
Yeah.
work my real estate schedule around, spending time with the kids. Well, we need to watch them on this day, or we're going to go do this. That was my priority. All of my time and
Yeah.
energy was into
Went
the
into them.
children. I mean,
So it's understandable that you would be diagnosed with that. Yeah.
yeah. So I started working through that. And then obviously conversations eventually shifted to the marriage and what needed to be done with that. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, Christine could not get over her alcohol issues. We divorced. I came home one day and told her that we needed to make changes. And she basically said she was fine with the way things are. She'd rather drink, you know. So I left. And that was the end of that. And Christine actually passed away in January of
Mm.
2018 from liver and kidney failure, from
Man.
the years of years of drinking and all that.
Yeah.
Somebody asked me, because I did that American Divorce Stories podcast a couple of weeks ago, and he
Yeah.
ended up centering more on the children because it was such a weird story. I mean, call it what you
Yeah.
want, but it is.
It's different for
Yeah.
sure.
I don't have the empathy that I have in a lot of cases for other people. When somebody says, well, this is sad and this is bad, whatever. I know that's a shitty way to react to it, but, it can't possibly be worse. And
Yeah.
everybody's trauma is their own trauma. And I know that intellectually and I understand that emotionally.
Yeah.
Passed away and I seen him twice in 2 years, you know, I'm sorry to hear that, but whatever,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. I understand that. I mean, I kind of prescribe to this, something similar. I mean, not necessarily. I don't have opportunities in my day, believe it or not, that like where that comes into play. But I do have that bar that just with me personally, like whatever happens in a day, the worst moment of my life is what I look at and go, okay, where does this moment right now fit to that terrible moment? And is it coming close at all? Nope. Then I don't have the capacity to even worry about it. But if it reaches above that, which I hope never does, then that kind of sends the alarm off. So I completely understand that. Similar in the sense that like, okay, like I understand that what you're going through is not comfortable for you, but it doesn't even ring a bell, for what has happened to me or how what has happened, to me has impacted me.
Yeah. I got a buddy of mine whose father passed away from cancer after about a year and a half. My mother died from cancer in 3 weeks. She was diagnosed and then she was gone. My buddy
Yeah.
Kirk, his mother died from MS and over the period of probably 9 or 10 years. So Johnny
Yeah.
looks at me and goes, so what do you think is easier? Having your mother
Hmm.
pass away quickly or being like Kirk's mom and all those years? I said, there is no answer to that,
There is no answer.
because
Yeah.
there's the watching it slowly happen over time or having her taken from you very quickly to where I'm
Yeah.
diagnosed stage 4, we're not doing chemo, 3 weeks later she's gone, that's it.
Yeah.
So there is no answer to that. It
Yeah.
doesn't exist.
Because you have no idea how it's going to impact you.
Yeah.
I mean, there's, you could have been told 20 years ago that this was going to happen, and you still would have had, no idea how you were going to react, right?
Yeah, and I've never seen, somebody, slowly digress and get worse and worse over the years. I've never been in that position, so I don't know what it
Right.
feels like. I know the opposite, which is, boom, she's here, and then she's gone, you know.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what happened with the kids. It was just like, even though they were still living 20 minutes away, we didn't have any contact with the mother, so we had no control,
No
no
control. Yeah.
nothing.
So how do you look at it today then? Like, you mentioned, you don't really talk to them, so it doesn't matter, but the feelings have still, got to be there for your sons, we'll call it, right? I mean, I'm with you on that too. Like, that's, who cares if it's, you adopted them and when you adopted them or how you had the kids. Like, what matters is how you feel about them, right? And here you are, years later. They're adults. They make adult decisions, do adult things. Um,
I
how does it?
speak to
Go
his
ahead.
ex-wife about once or twice a year now. Like she finally came out of the woodwork and we talked. Um, he's never paid a dime of child support, doesn't call the children, doesn't do any of that. Last time
Yeah,
I heard from him was probably 2018 when his sister died, Christine died, and I didn't hear from him. He actually went to the bar to look for me, which is good I wasn't there because you can't fight crazy, you know, because he
yeah,
kind of, he wanted to put it on me and all of that, blah, blah, blah. Um, his ex wife, again, I keep up with her a little bit. I I don't see the kids because it's not fair to bring them back into this and then show back up. Now she's been
yeah,
remarried. This is for the third time because she got divorced from the second husband who ended up to be a deadbeat also. But this third guy is a proper father figure, loves the children, all of that. So I don't feel like it's my place to jump in the middle of all of that and confuse
yeah,
or whatever it may be. If the kids want to
yeah.
find me later on, they know where I am,
Here I am.
but let them have their happy family.
And that's hard to do, right? I mean, it's a battle between, like, your own emotions and what you need, on top of that. That's hard to
But I
do.
don't have any control. So I don't
Yeah,
have the emotional capital, or I can't afford to expend the emotional capital to get involved, be a part of it. And then since I have no control or anything else, I could get shut down at any moment, you know,
yeah,
regardless. So there's nothing I can do about it.
yeah,
So I don't want to get back involved for that. I've made peace with
yeah,
it and I don't want to get hurt again.
yeah,
Um, it's kind of like getting remarried after having a crappy one the first time around.
yeah,
I'm hesitant to jump in, and I don't have the patience for working things out
yeah,
and or stupidity on my end or her end, regardless of whose end it may be. I don't
yeah,
have. I'm not gonna put in that much time. It's gonna work or it's not, and if it's not, I'm out. You know,
yeah.
I just don't. And that's probably wrong, but it's the truth.
Well, but I mean, I mean, you've somehow figured that out for yourself. That's what I was going to ask. Where do you think that comes from for you? Because just being on the outside, hearing a story like that, it's very, very easy to just, place the blame on that person or this person and feel like absolute resentment that it failed because of you and all those, like just pointing the finger, so to speak, and which is, to some degree it's going to happen and perfectly acceptable and okay. But the other end of it is like you said, like, it can go both ways. Like, I can make mistakes too. And that to me, that's the hard work to realize it. Like, what's the silly cliche saying, right? There's two to
Yeah.
tango. I mean, even as you were talking about Christine and, the alcohol, problems that she had. I mean, there's a small example right there that you could have been like, well, this is her fault. Like, this fell apart because she's got this going on. Where do you think personally that comes for you, that you're able to have that code switch to see that as like that's a personal issue for them, but not get caught up in the fact that I'm blaming it all on them? How do you think that, where do you think that comes from for you?
I don't know. Christine didn't have a very good childhood, clearly, I don't think her issue would have got as bad as it did if things could have been corrected and prevented.
Yeah.
Losing the boys put Christine over the top. Instead of getting therapy, instead of getting help, which I suggested, instead of perhaps maybe us both getting therapy, I don't have an answer for that. Um, she chose to dig deeper into the bottle. Um,
Yeah.
I almost started to really go the other way where I basically took up my time with succeeding and trying to put my nose to the grindstone and work. That's kind of my way.
Yeah.
That's why I slowly got wound up and slowly got wound up and just got angrier and madder and finally exploded on that four printer, you know. Um, so that's kind of how I guess I processed it. I don't have the patience or the time. Like I don't even like to see sad stuff on the TV and all that because I don't have the emotional capital for it, and it doesn't do any
Yeah.
good. I can't control the situation. Yes, it's sad when people die. I get that, but I can't control that. I can't fix it. So
Yeah.
I don't care, and I don't want to know about it. I mean, it's may not be the right way to do it, but it works for
Yeah.
me, right, wrong, or otherwise. I mean, if it's an individual I know, that's clearly different. But if it's
Yeah.
just so and so on the street, whatever, you know.
Yeah. And so looking at like just sharing this kind of a story, with that, and unique is the word I'm going to use there. You mentioned that the other podcast like focused on one area because it is kind of a different and not at the same time, right? I mean, there's certainly pieces of it that are similar. I know it took a lot to get to this point to share this story, and you seem like somebody that is not going to say that, like that. It's like, yeah, whatever, like those phrases you were just using, like that, like it doesn't care, like it don't matter, but it is challenging for you. And I think that's personally, and it's not even just what I do on a daily basis. Like that's a tremendous amount of strength and vulnerability. Where do you see yourself going now with it? But more importantly, what got you to this moment to be able to feel comfortable in sharing it?
Honest to God, I don't know what got me to this point. I think maybe it's just time. Maybe it's as
Yeah.
I've grown and changed. And again, I am 50 and I've had my own health challenges and all of that. I've kind of gotten over the point of I really don't care what anybody else thinks. So whatever. And if they like
Yeah.
it, and
Fair.
we talk a lot about mental health, but we do it in a very bumper sticker way. So like I got
We
friends of
do.
mine on Facebook that'll be like, I need my 5 people that will stand up for me and they pat and and thoughts and prayers and all of that. Okay, well that's fine and dandy, but
That's step
that's not
one.
doing it much of anything in reality.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm trying to be better on that. Number two, regardless of what happened, I did the right thing. It failed miserably, and I didn't know that was going to happen, but I did the right thing.
Sure.